So in this video, we're going to be talking about lines and shapes. So first of all, you got different shapes, the primitives. You got triangles, circles, and squares. We're going to be omitting squares because squares, they're quite static. Equal edges is just a bit boring. Circles and triangles is what you want to really incorporate in your image, in my opinion, because it's going to make it really interesting. Circles are soft, they're feminine, and triangles are male, they're very strong. So for instance, here in this image, you got a combination of soft elements. You got this, circle here, and you got this massive triangle, right, framing it. So you got this soft line here and really strong, strong triangular lines, right? So one here, and there's another here, another here, etc. So this image is basically framed by very powerful lines, but the subject itself is very soft, right? Another example is this one. Where you can draw a line here. It's a massive triangle of negative space, and then you got other triangles here, so you can draw a triangle here, you get smaller in here and another one in here. So you got a point of interest, offset, negative space, right? And you got very strong, powerful lines, and they're framing something really soft and round. Okay, you could draw a lot of circles in these areas, right? So shapes basically are super important when you're trying to frame something, because it will actually allow you to create, way more powerful compositions if you understand how shapes work. And you can divide your image into sections and see how different shapes support different areas of your image. Now, lines is a different story. You have three types of lines, right? You got horizontal lines, vertical lines, and diagonal lines. Now, diagonal lines always going to add dynamism, okay? Anything that's diagonal, it's going to be dynamic. So for instance, if I go to this image, right, you will see that the vessel is tilted, okay, and this basically indicates motion. You can feel that the vessel is actually in motion, whereas this one is a bit more static. Then you got diagonal lines, etc., etc. So they all add dynamic features to this very kind of a plain and sort of calm background, right? Now, in terms of horizontal and verticals, horizontal lines going to add peace and quiet, okay? They're going to add tranquility to your image. So if you're going to shoot something with a wide framing like this one, and you're going to emphasize the horizontality of it, you will make this image look very peaceful. If I frame this differently, so I frame this like this, for example, it will be far more dynamic. See what I mean? That's more dynamic. That's very peaceful. And vertical lines are going to add stability. Okay, they're gonna add stability and sort of they're gonna be more imposing. Okay, more imposing. Then you can also mix and match. You can you can mix verticals with diagonals, for example, which will add power and stability, but also some dynamism and lightness, because diagonal lines also add lightness because it's motion, right? It's something that's agile. So you can create some really interesting compositions if you understand how all these lines are working. Same here, one triangle and there's another triangle here, and then you have, for example, connection here between these triangle, right, and so on and so forth. So lines are super important. You got a lot of diagonal lines here, so they all lead to this truck. You see that? To this truck, pointing at this truck, right? All these lines. So none of these things are accidental. This, you simply frame your image in order to actually find it kind of sweet spot where the framing looks the way you really want it to look, right? But it takes some practice, but be conscious of it, because lines and shapes are extremely powerful elements. Be careful with overdoing circular elements because they're very powerful in composition. So if you, for example, grab, let me just give you an idea here. Yeah, you see, you don't want to overdo the circulars, and you also want to sort of make sure that they connect in a way that's going to break the softness of them. So in here we got one circle, second and third one, but they connected with a triangle. You see what I mean? And they framed basically by a triangle, okay? So, you got a triangle here, got a triangle here, you got a triangle here, right? So it's really important to understand how it all works. And then, you need to create sort of a cohesion and sort of a symbiosis between these shapes and make them kind of support one another, if it makes sense, okay? So this would be my advice to you on lines and shapes.